Okay, so today we're going to continue with our portraiture project. And if you remember what we've done up to now, we've produced a realistically drawn portrait, and then we have converted it into a sketch looking at the style of Modigliani, who, if you remember, stretches out the features and simplifies the features of the faces. And we have here an example of one of his paintings there. And you can even see how the colour that he puts on is very simplified. And that's what we're going to look at today. Because what we're going to do is we're going to start to produce a large painted version in the style of Modigliani. So taking our original sketch and redrawing it out on a larger scale. And I've already had a go at doing that with this particular picture here. So you can see here how I've developed my original sketch into a larger version, and I've made some changes. I didn't like that little lump in the nose there, so I've got rid of it when I've done it on this big one. You're allowed to make changes. I've also made the face a little bit longer so it suits the style of Modigliani more. Must repeat, don't worry if your drawing out of the features is not spot on. It doesn't matter. It didn't bother Modigliani. Look at those eyes. They're wonky. They're not level. It doesn't matter. You don't have to get it absolutely perfect. And that's a real benefit in this sort of picture. So, what we're going to do today is we're going to start adding colour. And we're going to be using the normal block paints to add the colour on there. First things that we're going to be looking at are the flesh colour. So we're going to produce a peach flesh type colour. Now, to get that colour, what we need to be looking at is mixing orange and white together. So make orange through the red and the yellow, and we've got the white. What colour do you start with first of all? You always start with the lightest colour in your mixing tray. So we can plonk that in there, get a good amount of colour in. Just remember, add the water to the paint using your paintbrush, like so. We can then get a bit of yellow, add that to it, and we can then get a bit of red, and it is a bit of red. You don't add loads, you just keep adding it until you get to the colour that you want. And we're starting now to get pretty decent flesh colour. That's gone a little bit too strong, so I'll add a bit more white to make it lighter. And quite simply, to start with, all you're going to do is paint the colour all over the face. Okay, interesting thing when you're painting in the face, a lot of people tend to paint around the nose and leave the nose blank for some reason. I don't know why they do it. A lot of people do though. Don't. Go straight over. I think some people do it because they worry about losing the outlines of the face that they've drawn on. Well, as you can see here, it's showing through. Can you also see I'm running out of paint? Mix up some more. It may not be exactly the same colour. That again does not matter. It didn't bother Modigliani. Look at all the different changes in the colour on there. So again, if it doesn't bother him, don't let it bother you. There we go. Possibly not a lot of things bothered Modigliani really. But there we go. So we can get that on there. It's a little bit richer. That colour that I've mixed up is a little bit richer than the original one, and I'll show you how to deal with that in a moment. I just want to get it all on here, on the ears. There we go. Right, notice I'm not taking a load of care. I'm just literally whacking that on. Get the neck on as well. Anything that has that basic flesh colour, just fill it in. Now where we've got that colour change, all you need to do is just get some water and just go over that border where the colour has changed and blend it all together. And that is fine. So what I've got now is I've got my basic colour on there. What we've now got to do is we've got to start bringing out the features that are on there. And it's all about putting some very simple shading on. Now, if we look at Modigliani's work again, when we look at the shading, can you notice how it's a bluey sort of colour? It's not black. He's not used pure black. He's used a bit of black on the outline, but putting the shading on, he's mixed in a bit of blue. Blue is a very cool colour, and it takes things away. Sounds silly, but it takes things back in the background. Warm colours like reds bring things forward. Blues take things away, and that's what we're going to work on. And it'll look quite horrifying to start with, but all I'm going to do is add a little bit of blue into the flesh colour, and I'm going to start to just highlight down the edge of the nose and around the eyes. Looks like this fella's got a black eye to begin with. You know, I've just noticed I've not put the eyebrows on, so the eyebrows are going to go somewhere around there. Put them in later. So let's get this shadow around the eye, around this side as well. And like I say, at the minute, looks a bit of a bruiser. How do you make him look less of a bruiser? Just like we did before when mixing the colours together, we just get some water. If it's too watery, just wipe a bit of the water off on either your fingers or your mixing tray. And you see there how you just go over that edge there, and that smooths the paint into the original colour. Just like that there. So that smooths that in. And we can smooth that down and blend that in a little bit, just using your brush. Beauty of this particular paint is when it dries, if you add water to it, it goes liquid again. So you can actually work it, you can even add to it next week, next lesson when you come to it. We also notice, right, there's a little bit of blue. Let's give the nose a bit of shape. Put a bit of shadow around there. We can put a little bit under the nose into that little part there. Just adding a little bit of shape to the face. Even taking it round the edges there, it just takes it back a bit more blue. That's it. Just takes it back there, certainly under the neck. Get a bit of blue on first, paint it on, and then work into it with the water. Now that's taken the shadows on. If you remember what I said a few minutes ago, there's another colour that you can use to make things stand out. So things like the nose, if you want to bring the nose forward. And if you remember the colour that I mentioned there, I talked about using a warm colour. What are warm colours? Reds, yellows, orange. Get a bit of red. Again, mix it in with your flesh colour. If we want to bring this nose forward, because your nose is your closest thing to you, and you can actually see it on the Modigliani picture. He's putting a little bit of red down there and on the cheekbones. That's exactly what we're going to do on this picture here. So I'm going to actually put a little bit of red just coming down there. I think I might take it over the eyebrows a little bit. So there. I'm also going to put some on the cheek. Just starts to bring the face to life a little bit. Notice it's not a solid red, although I will say, if you put a real bright red on like that and go, what have I done? Again, just use the water and work into it with the water, and you'll tone it down. There we go. Right? It's actually quite tricky to make a serious mistake that cannot be fixed. There we go. Blend that in on those edges there. And that's that sorted there. Final thing I'm going to do whilst I've got that red is I am going to paint in the colour on the lips. Get a bit more of a lip colour on there. Now that should keep you going for this session, just getting those blocks of colour on. If you do get all the flesh done, etc., you can always move on to blocking in the hair colour, blocking in a colour on the eyes, even blocking in the background colour, but I'm going to talk about that more in the next session. I'm just going to put a little bit of shadow on the side of the head there. There we go. That should keep you busy for this particular session. Okay, let's see what you can do.